I wasn't going to fight over a ring at my grandmother's funeral. That's what I told myself when I saw it gleaming on Leah's finger, my brother's girlfriend wearing the sapphire Grandma had promised me. Why does she have it? I asked Mom. She barely glanced up. She's family now.
For words, and I cease to exist.
24 years of being their daughter, erased for Tyler's 2-year relationship. They expected me to smile, to accept it, to disappear like I always had. But they made one mistake. They taught me exactly who they were. And when someone shows you that you don't matter, you believe them. You also stop protecting them from consequences. The ring would come back to me. I'd make sure of that. But the family? They could keep each other. The smell of vanilla and cinnamon still clings to my memories of Grandma's kitchen. I was 8 years old, standing on a wooden stool beside her, flour dusting my cheeks as we rolled out sugar cookies together. She'd hum old songs I didn't recognize, pausing every now and then to tap my nose with her finger, leaving a white spot that made her laugh. "Rachel, sweetheart," she'd say, her voice warm like the oven behind us, "you've got the magic touch. These cookies are perfect because you made them with love." It was during one of those afternoons, when the sunlight streamed through her lace curtains and painted golden patterns on the countertop, that she first showed me the ring. She wiped her hands on her apron, walked to her jewelry box, and pulled out a small velvet pouch. "Come here, little bird," she called, using the nickname only she ever used for me. The ring was beautiful in its simplicity, a delicate gold band with a single sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds that caught the light like captured stars. She slipped it onto my finger, where it hung loose and heavy, far too big for my small hand. "This one's yours," she said, her eyes serious despite her gentle smile. "When you're older, when I'm gone, this will be yours. Promise me you'll keep it safe." "I promise, Grandma," I whispered, mesmerized by how the blue stone seemed to hold entire oceans within it. She kissed my forehead and tucked the ring back into its pouch. "Good girl. Now let's check on those cookies before they burn." That memory feels like a lifetime ago now, standing in my childhood home 16 years later, dressed in black, my eyes still puffy from crying. Grandma had passed 5 days ago, and the funeral this morning had been beautiful in that heartbreaking way funerals can be when someone was truly loved. The house buzzed with relatives I hadn't seen in years, all clutching paper plates loaded with casseroles and telling stories that started with, "Remember when Dorothy?" My parents moved through the crowd like practiced hosts, accepting condolences with grace. Well, they moved with grace when they were near Tyler, my older brother. When they passed by me, their movements seemed hurried, distracted. Tyler had always been the golden boy. 3 years older, star athlete in high school, went to law school, made partner at 32. Every family gathering featured the Tyler Harrison highlight reel, while I sat quietly with my teaching degree and my small apartment, apparently not worth mentioning. "Rachel, honey, could you refill the coffee?" Mom called out, not really looking at me as she gripped Tyler's arm, introducing him to some distant cousin who needed to hear, again, about his latest courtroom victory. I made my way to the kitchen, grateful for the excuse to escape. The coffee maker gurgled as I added more grounds, and I stared out the window at Grandma's garden, now winter bare and waiting for spring that she wouldn't see. "Oh my God, Leah, that ring is absolutely stunning." My Aunt Sharon's voice carried from the dining room, and something in my chest tightened. I abandoned the coffee and walked toward the voices. There, at the center of a small group of admiring relatives, stood Leah Mitchell, Tyler's girlfriend of 2 years. She was everything our family seemed to value, tall, blonde, with that kind of effortless beauty that looked good even at funerals. She worked in marketing, had a laugh that could fill a room, and most importantly, she hung on Tyler's every word like he was dispensing wisdom from Mount Olympus. But it wasn't Leah that made my blood run cold. It was what she was wearing on her right hand. Grandma's ring. My ring. The sapphire caught the afternoon light streaming through the window, winking at me like it was in on some cruel joke. Leah was holding her hand out, letting people examine it, turning it this way, and that so the diamonds sparkled. "It was Tyler's grandmother's," Leah was saying, her voice dripping with false reverence.
She wanted me to have it.
We were so close at the end. Close at the end? Leah had visited Grandma exactly 3 times in the nursing home. I'd been there every Tuesday and Thursday for the past year, reading to her, brushing her hair, holding her hand when the pain got bad. I must have made some sound because Tyler appeared at my elbow, his hand on my shoulder in what probably looked like comfort to anyone watching. "Hey, Ratch," he said softly. "You okay?" "The ring," I managed to whisper. "That's Grandma's ring." "Yeah, Mom gave it to Leah yesterday." "Nice, right?" Grandma would have wanted it to stay in the family. Stay in the family? The words knocked around in my skull like pinballs. I pulled away from Tyler and found Mom in the kitchen, arranging yet another sympathy fruit basket. "Mom," I said, working hard to keep my voice level. "Why is Leah wearing Grandma's ring?" She didn't even look up from the pineapple she was adjusting. "Oh, Rachel, don't start. Not today." "I'm not starting anything. I'm asking why Leah has the ring Grandma promised to me." Now she looked up, her expression one of practiced patience, like I was a student who couldn't grasp a simple concept. "Well, she's basically family now. She'll be your sister-in-law soon. Tyler's planning to propose next month. But Grandma promised." "Rachel." Her voice turned sharp. "Your grandmother was very ill at the end. She said a lot of things. Leah spent so much time with her, and she specifically mentioned wanting Leah to have something special." "That's not true," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You know that's not true." "What I know," Mom said, returning to her fruit arrangement, "is that Leah is about to officially join this family, and you need to be supportive of your brother. The ring looks beautiful on her. Let it go. Let it go." Like it was just some trinket. Like it wasn't the one thing Grandma had specifically promised to me. Like all those afternoons in her kitchen, all those secrets whispered between us, all those moments when she was the only one who seemed to really see me, like none of it mattered. I didn't say another word. I walked out of the kitchen, past the relatives telling stories about a woman they barely knew, past Tyler and Leah now holding court together, past all of it. I grabbed my coat and left. The drive home was a blur. My hands shook on the steering wheel, but it wasn't from sadness anymore. It was fury. Pure, crystallized fury at the casual way they'd erased me, erased Grandma's wishes, erased everything that ring meant. Back in my apartment, I sat on my bed and let myself remember another moment, this one from just 6 months ago. Grandma had been having a good day at the nursing home, lucid and bright-eyed. She'd gripped my hand with surprising strength. "You're the only one I trust with it," she'd said, her voice raspy but clear. "The ring, Rachel. If I'm not here, don't let them lie to you. They will, you know. Your mother, she never understood what it meant. But you do." "Grandma, don't talk like that. You're going to be fine." She'd laughed, a sound like rustling leaves. "Oh, little bird. We both know that's not true. Promise me you'll fight for what's yours. Promise me you won't let them make you small." "I promise," I'd said, tears streaming down my face. Now, sitting in my apartment with her absence filling every corner, I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to beg. But I also wasn't going to let this go. I started with Grandma's room at my parents' house. They'd barely touched it since she'd moved to the nursing home, and I still had a key from when I used to water her plants. Late that night, while my parents slept off the exhaustion of the funeral, I let myself in. Her room still smelled like her, lavender powder and old books. I went through her desk drawers carefully, looking for anything that might help. Old letters, birthday cards I'd sent her over the years, photographs of family gatherings where I was usually half hidden in the background. Then, tucked inside her old recipe book, the one with the cookie recipe we'd made so many times, I found it. An envelope with my name written in her shaky handwriting. My heart pounded as I opened it. The note inside was short, dated just 3 months ago. "My dear Rachel, if you find this and I'm gone. Yes, the ring is yours. I've told them, but I know how they are. The ring belonged to my mother and her mother before that. It goes to the one who carries the heart of the family, not the name. That's you, little bird. Fight for it if you must. All my love, Grandma." I pressed the note to my chest and allowed myself one moment of grief before tucking it carefully into my purse. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The week after the funeral passed in a strange haze. I went back to work, teaching third grade at Jefferson Elementary, where my kids' innocent chatter about their weekends provided temporary relief from the storm brewing in my family. But every evening, when I returned to my quiet apartment, the anger would resurface, sharp and insistent. My phone buzzed constantly with family group texts I couldn't bring myself to read. When I finally did, I wished I hadn't. Photos from the funeral, everyone talking about celebrating Grandma's life, and right there in the middle of it all, a photo Leah had posted. She stood in my parents' living room, her manicured hand deliberately positioned to show off the ring, with the caption, "Keeping Nana's legacy close ring #blessed #family forever." Nana. She'd never called Grandma that when she was alive. None of us did. I screenshot the post and added it to a folder I'd started on my phone. Evidence, maybe. Or just fuel for the fire burning in my chest. Tyler called the next day. "Ratch, you missed Sunday dinner." "I was busy. Mom's worried about you. She says you left the funeral early." "I stayed for the service. That's what mattered." There was a pause. I could hear Leah's voice in the background, that practiced laugh of hers. "Look, about the ring thing." "What ring thing?" I kept my voice neutral. "Come on, don't be like this. It's just jewelry. Grandma had lots of pieces." "Did she?" I asked. "What else did Leah get?" "That's not, Rachel. You're being ridiculous. Leah was there for Grandma. She earned it." "Earned it?" Like caring for your dying grandmother was a transaction. She visited 3 times, Tyler. She was busy with work. You know how demanding her job is. Besides, she made those visits count. Grandma loved her. I hung up without saying goodbye. That evening, I called my cousin Jenna. She lived 2 states away, but had always been the one other family member who seemed to exist on the periphery, like I did. Her mother was Mom's sister, but they'd had some falling out years ago that no one talked about. "Rachel, I've been thinking about you. How are you holding up?" "Honestly, not great." I told her everything about the ring, about Leah, about the note I'd found. Jenna was quiet for a long moment. "You know, I remember Grandma talking about that ring last year when I visited. She specifically said she was saving it for you. Said you were the only one who understood its real value. Would you be willing to write that down? Like, officially?" "Of course. Rachel, this is wrong. They can't just give away something that wasn't theirs to give." "Apparently they can." We talked for another hour, and Jenna mentioned something that made me sit up straighter. "Did you know Grandma had an email account?" Grandma barely knew how to use her flip phone. "No, one of the nurses at the home set it up for her. She wanted to be able to send pictures to everyone. I helped her with it a few times. I might still have the login information." My heart raced. "Can you check?" 2 days later, Jenna sent me the credentials. I logged in with shaking hands, scrolling through the sparse inbox. Mostly spam, a few forwards from the nursing home about activities, and then, there it was. An email to Jenna from a year ago. "Dear Jenna, thank you for helping me with this computer mail thing. I wanted to put this in writing while my mind is clear. I'm leaving my mother's ring to Rachel. It's hers by right and by promise. I've told her mother, but I don't trust she heard me. Rachel's getting the ring. It's hers. I've told them, but in case they forget. Love, Grandma Dorothy." I printed 3 copies immediately. The next step was harder. I found a lawyer, Ms. Patricia Lawson, who specialized in estate disputes. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who listened to my story without interrupting. "It's not a formal will," she said, examining the handwritten note and the email. "But it does establish clear intent. The question is whether you want to pursue this. Family disputes can get ugly." "It's already ugly," I said. "They just don't want to admit it." She drafted a formal letter requesting the return of the ring, citing the evidence of Grandma's wishes. "We'll send this to both Leah and your parents. Sometimes, official letterhead is enough to make people reconsider." It wasn't. Leah's response came through Tyler, of course. He showed up at my apartment on a Thursday evening, his face flushed with anger. Are you seriously threatening legal action? Against Leah? Against our family? I'm requesting the return of my property. Your property? He laughed, but it was harsh, bitter. Grandma's dead, Rachel. She can't own anything anymore, and that ring was given to Leah by Mom. End of story. Mom had no right. Mom had every right. She's the executor of the estate. God, Rachel, do you hear yourself? You're going to tear this family apart over some stupid ring. If it's so stupid, why won't Leah give it back? Tyler's jaw clenched. Because it was a gift. From Grandma, through Mom, to the woman I'm going to marry. The woman who's actually going to give this family grandchildren, who's going to carry on the Harrison name. I'm a Harrison too. Are you? Because you sure aren't acting like it. Leah's been nothing but kind to you, and this is how you repay her. Kind? She's wearing my ring and posting about it on Instagram like she won something. You know what? Tyler headed for the door. Leah was right. You're emotionally unstable. You're obsessed with being the victim. You always have been, even when we were kids. Nothing was ever good enough for Rachel. Well, guess what? Sometimes you don't get what you want. Grow up. The door slammed behind him, rattling the pictures on my wall. That night, Leah made a series of posts on social media. She never mentioned me by name, but the meaning was clear. Some people can't handle seeing others happy. Grief makes people do crazy things. Sending prayers for healing. Blessed to have a man who stands by me against anyone who tries to dim our light. Each post featured the ring prominently. Mom called the next morning, crying. Rachel, please. You're destroying this family. Is that what Grandma would have wanted? Grandma wanted me to have her mother's ring. That's what she wanted. You have to stop this. Leah's considering filing a harassment claim for requesting the return of stolen property. It wasn't stolen. Mom's voice turned shrill. I gave it to her. I'm your mother, and I'm telling you to drop this immediately.
No.
Then you're not welcome at family functions until you apologize. To all of us, but especially to Leah. I won't apologize for wanting what Grandma promised me. Then you've made your choice. The line went dead. I sat in the silence of my apartment, feeling the weight of what had just happened. I'd been officially exiled, cast out, for wanting something that was mine to begin with. My phone buzzed with a group family text. I almost didn't look, but curiosity won. Let's all just calm down. We're family. We need to work through this together with love and understanding. It was from Aunt Sharon, ever the peacemaker. The responses poured in, everyone agreeing, everyone preaching about forgiveness and family bonds. Not one person said what I needed to hear, that I was right, that this was wrong, that Grandma's wishes mattered. I left the group chat without a word. Ms. Lawson filed the official paperwork the following week. Leah would be served with a legal notice requesting the return of the ring based on the documented evidence of Grandma's intent. It wasn't a lawsuit yet, just a formal request. But it was enough to light a fire under everyone. The process server found Leah at her yoga studio on a Tuesday morning. According to Ms. Lawson, who heard from Leah's hastily hired attorney, she'd caused quite a scene, screaming about harassment and emotional distress in front of her entire Pilates class. Tyler called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer once. His voicemails progressed from angry to furious to almost unhinged. You actually did it. You actually served legal papers to my fiancé. This is insane, Rachel. Insane. You're dead to me. Do you hear me? Dead. Mom's having a panic attack. Are you happy now? Leah's crying. She won't stop crying. I'm going to make sure you regret this. Please, please just call me back. We can fix this. The last one was almost worse than the threats. That broken pleading in his voice, like I was the one who destroyed everything. Like I was the villain in this story. Mom's texts were more measured, but no less manipulative. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. The whole church is talking about this. Your grandmother would be ashamed. Family doesn't sue family. You were always jealous of Tyler. This is what this is really about. That last one almost made me laugh. Was I jealous of Tyler? Of the constant attention, the praise, The way everything he did was golden while I remained invisible? Maybe once. But not anymore. Now I just wanted what was mine. Jenna flew in that weekend. She showed up at my door with a bottle of wine and a fierce hug. "You look terrible," she said with her characteristic honesty. "Thanks. You look great too." We sat on my couch, drinking directly from the bottle, because this wasn't a wine glasses kind of situation. "They're saying horrible things about you in the family Facebook group," she said. "There's a family Facebook group?" "Oh yeah. Aunt Sharon started it. You're not in it, obviously." "Neither am I anymore. I left after I saw what they were saying." "Do I want to know?" "Probably not. But you should know that Leah's been playing the victim hard. Posting about anxiety attacks, how she can't sleep, how she's had to take time off work because of the trauma." I snorted. "She works from home 3 days a week anyway." "Yeah, well, now she's saying she might need therapy because of your vendetta." We drank in silence for a moment before Jenna spoke again. "You know what's really sick? They all know you're right. Deep down, they know Grandma wanted you to have that ring. They just don't care." She was right, of course. This had never been about confusion or misunderstanding. It was about power. About keeping me in my place. About Tyler and his perfect girlfriend getting everything while I got the scraps. The legal maneuvering continued for 3 weeks. Leah's lawyer argued that the ring was a completed gift from my mother, who had legal authority over the estate. My lawyer countered with Grandma's clear written intent. Back and forth, paperwork and phone calls, each side digging in deeper. Then something unexpected happened. It started with small things. Tyler mentioned to Jenna, who was still in touch with him despite everything, that Leah had been acting strange. Secretive. She changed her phone password, started taking calls in private, became defensive when he asked simple questions about her day. "She's probably just stressed about the legal stuff," Jenna told me over coffee. "Or she's realizing Tyler's not the golden boy she thought he was," I replied. But it was more than that. The cracks in their relationship, hairline fractures that had probably always been there, began to widen under pressure. Tyler, used to being adored and supported unconditionally, couldn't handle Leah's mood swings. Leah, faced with actual adversity for possibly the first time in her life, couldn't maintain her perfect girlfriend facade. They started fighting. Not just arguing, actual screaming matches that the neighbors could hear. Mom called me once, breaking her own exile rule, to blame me for it. They were perfect together until you started this nonsense. If they were perfect, a dispute over a ring wouldn't break them. You don't understand what you've done. I asked for my property back. That's all I did. She hung up on me. It was becoming a family tradition. The universe has a sense of humor, or maybe it's just karma wearing a disguise. Either way, what happened next was something I couldn't have predicted if I'd tried. It was Jenna who told me, calling on a Thursday afternoon while I was grading spelling tests. "You're not going to believe this. Tyler and Leah eloped."
No.
Leah left. I put down my red pen.
What do you mean, left?
I mean, she packed her stuff while Tyler was at work, left a note, and disappeared. And Rachel, she took the ring. The room seemed to spin slightly. She took it. Everything. The ring, some other jewelry from your mom's collection that she'd been borrowing, even the engagement ring Tyler had bought but hadn't given her yet. He'd been hiding it in his sock drawer like an idiot. But how do you know all this? Tyler called me. Sobbing. Actually sobbing. Said he came home and half the apartment was empty. She'd blocked him on everything, phone, social media, email. Her note just said, "I can't live like this. You're just like your mother. You're just like your mother." I had to admit Leah had gotten one thing right. "He wants me to talk to you," Jenna continued. "He thinks you might know where she went." Why would I know where she went? I don't know. He's not thinking clearly. He keeps saying this is all your fault, that you drove her away. Of course. Even when Leah betrayed him, it was somehow my fault. The family explosion was immediate and spectacular. Mom called every relative with a phone, sobbing about how her son had been abandoned, how Leah had revealed herself as a gold digger, how the family had been torn apart. The same people who'd been defending Leah 2 weeks ago were now calling her every name in the book. The family Facebook group, according to Jenna's reconnaissance, was a battlefield of deleted posts and hasty retractions. Aunt Sharon tried to maintain peace with posts about healing and coming together in difficult times, but no one was interested in harmony anymore. Then came the part I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. It was Sunday evening, 3 days after Leah's grand exit. I was making dinner, a simple pasta dish that reminded me of the ones Grandma used to make, when someone knocked on my door. Not rang the bell, knocked. Soft, hesitant, almost apologetic. I looked through the peephole and saw my mother standing there, looking older than I'd ever seen her. Her usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled, her makeup smudged around the eyes. She was holding her purse like a shield. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. "Rachel." Her voice was hoarse. "We need to talk." "Do we?" She took the ring. "Leah took your grandmother's ring." "I know. We need to get it back." I leaned against the doorframe, studying her face. There was desperation there, but not a hint of apology. Not a whisper of acknowledgement that I'd been right all along.
We?
I asked. Yes, we. As a family. We need to present a united front.
Get the lawyers involved.
That ring belongs to the Harrisons. I thought it belonged to Leah. Isn't that what you said? She's family now. Mom's face flushed. That was different. She was going to marry Tyler. And now she's not. So suddenly the ring matters? It's always mattered. Just not when I wanted it. She shifted uncomfortably. "Rachel, please. This isn't the time for petty grievances. Your brother is devastated. We've all been humiliated. That woman made fools of us all." "No," I said quietly. "She made fools of you." I knew exactly who she was. "Then help us. You have the lawyer already. You have the paperwork. Help us get the ring back." I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who dismissed my pain, who'd chosen Tyler's happiness over my grandmother's wishes, who'd exiled me from the family for daring to stand up for myself. She stood there, waiting for me to save them from the consequences of their own choices. "Ask your family," I said, and closed the door. The silence that followed my closing the door on my mother lasted exactly 37 seconds. I know because I stood there, my back against the door, counting. Then came the pounding, not knocking anymore, but full-fisted pounding that shook the frame. "Rachel, open this door right now. You don't get to walk away from this." I moved to my kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and let her exhaust herself. The pounding eventually stopped, replaced by muffled sobbing, then footsteps retreating down the hallway. My neighbor, Mrs. Chun, poked her head out as I was taking out the trash an hour later. "Everything okay, dear?" Sounded like quite the commotion. "Family drama," I said with a shrug that had become my default response. She nodded knowingly. The holidays always bring out the worst in people. Except it wasn't the holidays anymore. It was February, gray and cold, and my family had found new ways to be awful without the excuse of forced togetherness. Tyler started his campaign the next morning. First came the texts, each one more desperate than the last. "We need to work together on this." She played us both, Ratch. "I know you're angry, but this is bigger than our fight. The ring belongs in our family."
Please.
"I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear? Answer me. This is childish."
Fine.
"We'll handle it without you." That last one almost made me respond. Handle it how? They had no lawyer, no case, no idea where Leah had even gone. But I held back, maintaining the silence that seemed to drive them all crazy. Ms. Lawson called that afternoon with an update. "Interesting development. Leah's attorney sent a response." "She still has an attorney?" "Apparently. He's arguing that since the ring was a gift from your mother, and since your mother hasn't filed any complaint about theft, there's no case. But the documentation still stands. The ring should have been yours. But now we're dealing with two separate issues. The original dispute about rightful ownership and the current situation where Leah has taken something your mother freely gave her." "So, my mother has to file a complaint?" "That would be the cleanest path forward, yes." I laughed, bitter and short. "That's never going to happen. She'd have to admit she was wrong. Then we continue with our original filing." The court can still order the return of the ring based on your grandmother's documented wishes. It'll just take longer. Longer. Everything in this family took longer than it should. Apologies, acknowledgments, acceptance. All of it moved at a glacial pace, if it moved at all. Jenna came over that evening with takeout and updates from the family front lines. Your mom is telling everyone that you refuse to help get the ring back, she said, stabbing at her pad thai with unnecessary force. Making you out to be the villain who cares more about being right than about family unity. Sounds about right. Tyler's a mess, though. Like, genuinely falling apart. He hasn't been to work in a week. Just sits in his apartment calling Leah's friends, trying to track her down. Has he found anything? One of her coworkers thinks she went to California. Something about a job opportunity she'd been considering for months. Months. While she was wearing my grandmother's ring and playing the perfect girlfriend, she'd been planning her escape for months. The really sick part? Jenna continued. Your mom is more upset about the embarrassment than the actual betrayal. She keeps saying things like, what will people think? And how do I explain this at church? Of course she is. It's always been about appearances. We ate in companionable silence for a while before Jenna asked, do you really think you'll get it back? The ring. I don't know, I admitted. But that's not really the point anymore. Then what is? I thought about it, twirling my fork in the noodles. I spent my whole life making myself smaller to fit into the space they allowed me, accepting whatever scraps they threw my way, being grateful for the bare minimum. This ring, it's the first time I've ever said, no, actually that's mine, and meant it. Good for you, Jenna said softly. Grandma would be proud. The next 2 weeks brought a series of increasingly desperate attempts from my family. Dad, who usually stayed out of Mom's drama, called from his office. Rachel, sweetheart, let's be practical here. The lawyer fees alone are probably more than the ring is worth. It's not about money, Dad. Then what's it about?
Frida?
You've made your point. Have I? What point would that be?
He sighed.
That you felt overlooked. That we didn't handle things well. Message received. That's what you think this is about? Feeling overlooked. Isn't it? Dad, Grandma promised me that ring when I was 8 years old. She put it in writing. She told multiple people. And you all just decided that didn't matter because Tyler's girlfriend wanted it. We thought. You didn't think about me at all. That's the point. He was quiet for a long moment. Your mother is very upset. I know. She might never forgive you for this. I know that too. Is it worth it? Was it worth it to her to give away something that wasn't hers to give? He hung up without answering. The real circus began when Mom decided to take her case to social media. She didn't mention me by name, but anyone who knew our family could connect the dots. Heartbroken that family would choose vindictiveness over unity. Some people can't put aside their petty grievances, even in times of crisis. Praying for those who have lost their way. Each post got dozens of sympathetic comments from her church friends and distant relatives, all offering prayers and support for whatever trial she was facing. A few brave souls asked what had happened, but Mom just responded with vague comments about family challenges and difficult times. Then Tyler made his move. He showed up at Jefferson Elementary at dismissal time, waiting by my car like some kind of ambush predator. Several of my fellow teachers noticed, shooting me concerned looks as I approached. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since this all started. He'd lost weight, his suit hanging loose on his frame. Dark circles ringed his eyes, and his usually perfect hair was unkempt. The golden boy was tarnishing. 5 minutes, I agreed. We sat in my car, heat running against the February chill. Tyler stared straight ahead through the windshield. I loved her, he said quietly. I know you think I'm shallow and materialistic and all about appearances, but I really loved her. I'm sure you did. She made me feel important, special, like I was as amazing as everyone always said I was. You mean she fed your ego? He laughed, short and bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she did. And when you started the whole thing with the ring, she changed? Became someone I didn't recognize.
Mean.
Calculating. She was always that person, Tyler. You just didn't want to see it. Maybe. He rubbed his face with both hands. Mom won't stop crying. Dad's drinking more. The whole family is picking sides. There shouldn't be sides. There should just be the truth. Your truth.
No, Tyler.
The truth. Grandma wanted me to have that ring. You all knew it. You just didn't care. He turned to look at me finally. You're right. The words hung in the air between us like a physical presence. I'd waited so long to hear them that I didn't know how to respond. We knew, he continued. Mom knew. I knew. Leah wanted it so badly, and she made this whole case about how she was the one actually joining the family, having kids, carrying on traditions. And Mom ate it up. The perfect daughter-in-law she'd always wanted. Instead of the imperfect daughter she actually had. That's not, he stopped himself. Yeah, I guess that's exactly what it was. We sat in silence for a moment before he asked, will you help us get it back?
No.
Even though I'm admitting we were wrong? Admitting it to me, privately, in a car where no one else can hear doesn't change anything, Tyler. You all made your choice. You chose Leah over me, over Grandma's wishes, over doing the right thing. Now you get to live with that choice. So, you're just going to let her keep it? Out of spite. I'm continuing my legal action to get my property back. What you do is your business. Cold, Rachel. Really cold. No, I said, unlocking the doors. Cold was giving away my inheritance to your girlfriend while I was still grieving. This is just consequence. Tyler's admission changed nothing in the family dynamic, which shouldn't have surprised me, but somehow still stung. He never told Mom what he'd said to me, never stood up in my defense, never did anything but retreat back into his misery. The golden boy had lost his shine, but he hadn't found his spine. March arrived with unexpected warmth, and with it came movement in the legal proceedings. Ms. Lawson called on a Tuesday morning while I was teaching, leaving a voicemail that made my hands shake when I listened to it during lunch. Rachel, we've had a breakthrough. Leah's been served in California, Los Angeles, specifically. She has 30 days to respond. Also, interesting development. She's already trying to sell the ring. A jeweler contacted the police when she brought it in because he recognized it from the legal notices we circulated. Call me back. Trying to sell it. Of course she was. It had never been about sentiment for her, never been about family or legacy. Just another asset to liquidate. I called Ms. Lawson back immediately. The attempted sale actually helps us, she explained. It shows intent to permanently deprive you of the property. The judge won't look kindly on that. What happens now? Now we wait for her response. But given that she's been caught trying to sell it, I'm guessing her lawyer will advise her to settle. Return the ring and walk away. That easy. Nothing about family law is easy. But she's got no real claim anymore, and fighting this will cost her more than the ring's worth. I thought about Leah, probably sitting in some LA apartment, furious that her plan had unraveled. She'd played her hand perfectly until she hadn't, gotten everything she wanted until she'd wanted too much. The family group chat, which I'd left but Jenna still monitored, was apparently in meltdown mode. Mom had hired her own lawyer, trying to file charges for theft, but since she'd given Leah the ring willingly, there was no criminal case. Tyler was talking about flying to California to confront her. Aunt Sharon was organizing prayer circles. It's like watching a soap opera, Jenna told me over wine that weekend. Everyone's so dramatic about it. Your mom actually said, and I quote, "That woman has stolen our family's honor." Our family's honor, I repeated, laughing. What honor? The honor of lying? The honor of favoritism? The honor of dismissing anyone who doesn't fit the perfect family portrait. Speaking of family portraits, did you see what Tyler posted? She showed me her phone. Tyler had put up a long Facebook post about learning who really matters and blood versus water and the importance of family loyalty. The comments were full of support and sympathy, people calling Leah terrible names, praising Tyler for his strength. 6 months ago, these same people were congratulating him on finding such a wonderful girlfriend, I observed. Funny how that works. My phone rang, Mom calling for the third time that day. I let it go to voicemail, as I had every time for the past week. But this time, she left a message that made me actually listen. Rachel, I know you're angry with me. You have every right to be. But please, we found out Leah took more than just the ring. She took Grandma's pearl necklace, the anniversary bracelet your father gave me, and about $3,000 in cash from Tyler's emergency fund. This isn't just about family anymore. This is about crime. Please call me back. $3,000. The pearl necklace I remembered Mom wearing to every special occasion. The anniversary bracelet Dad had saved for months to buy. Leah had been systematic, calculating, taking what she could while planning her exit. But I still didn't call back. Instead, I went to visit Grandma's grave. I hadn't been since the funeral, afraid of the emotions it would trigger. But now, standing in front of her headstone with fresh daffodils in my hand, I felt oddly calm. Hey, Grandma, I said quietly, arranging the flowers. So, funny story. Remember that ring you promised me? Well, it's been quite the adventure. I told her everything, sitting on the grass despite the dampness, talking to the stone like she was still there to listen. About the betrayal, the legal fight, Leah's escape, Tyler's breakdown, Mom's desperation. I'm not backing down, I finished. You told me not to let them make me small, and I'm not. Not anymore. The wind picked up, rustling through the cemetery trees, and for just a moment, I could swear I smelled vanilla and cinnamon. 2 weeks later, Ms. Lawson called with news. She's agreed to return the ring. My heart stopped. What? Her lawyer contacted me this morning. She'll return the ring to avoid further legal action. No admission of wrongdoing, of course, but she'll send it back. Just like that. Well, there are conditions. She wants assurance that no criminal charges will be filed by your family for the other items. The other items aren't mine to negotiate with. I told him that. But here's the thing. The ring is specifically mentioned in our filing. She has to return that regardless. The other items are your mother's problem. When? By courier. Within the week. I sat down hard on my couch, suddenly dizzy. After everything, it was actually happening. The ring was coming back. Rachel? Are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. You stood your ground. That's what made the difference. After we hung up, I didn't call anyone. Not Jenna, not my parents, not Tyler. I just sat in the quiet of my apartment, feeling the weight of what was about to happen. The ring was coming home, but the family that had surrounded it was broken beyond repair. The package arrived on a Thursday. I'd taken the day off work, somehow knowing it would come then. The doorbell rang at 10:43 a.m., and there stood a courier with a small padded envelope that required signature. My hands shook as I signed. The courier left, and I stood in my doorway holding the envelope, almost afraid to open it. Finally, I went to my kitchen table, sat down, and carefully tore open the seal. Inside was a small velvet pouch, the same one Grandma had kept it in. I turned it over, and the ring fell into my palm. The sapphire caught the morning light through my window, the tiny diamonds sparkling just as they had when I was 8 years old, standing in Grandma's kitchen covered in flour. There was no note, no apology, just the ring, returned like a library book, transactional and cold. I slipped it onto my right hand. It fit perfectly now. The family explosion when they found out was predictable. Mom called 15 times in an hour. Tyler sent a series of increasingly angry texts about how I'd negotiated behind their backs and let that thief get away with robbery. Dad sent a single message. Is it worth losing your family? But here's the thing. I hadn't lost my family. They'd lost me. They'd chosen to lose me the moment they decided my feelings, my inheritance, my relationship with Grandma meant less than keeping up appearances. I took a photo of the ring on my hand and sent it to Jenna with a simple caption. Home. She called immediately, crying. You did it. You actually did it. Grandma did it, I corrected. She knew this would happen. That's why she put it in writing. Are you going to tell them? They'll find out eventually. What about everything else she took? Not my problem. And it wasn't. Mom could chase after her pearl necklace. Tyler could mourn his $3,000, but I had what was mine. What had always been mine. The ring sat in a small glass display box on my bookshelf for 2 weeks before I could bring myself to wear it regularly. Every morning, I'd look at it catching the early light, a reminder that I'd fought for something and won. Not just the ring, but the right to stand up for myself. My family's attempts at contact gradually dwindled. Mom went from daily calls to weekly to monthly checking-in messages that I deleted without reading. Tyler disappeared entirely, throwing himself into work according to Jenna, trying to rebuild his golden boy image at the law firm. Dad sent occasional emails about neutral topics, the weather, sports scores, anything but the elephant in the room. I moved in April, not far, just to a different apartment complex with better light and a small balcony where I could grow herbs. As I packed, I found photos from family gatherings over the years. In every one, I was slightly apart, on the edge of the frame, smiling but not quite belonging. I kept one, Grandma and me, at her 80th birthday, both of us covered in cake frosting because I tripped while carrying it. We were laughing so hard our eyes were closed. That one went on my new refrigerator. The rest went in the trash. The blog started by accident. I'd been journaling about the whole experience, trying to process it, when a fellow teacher mentioned she wrote for a website about family dynamics and toxic relationships. "You should submit something," she said. "Your story could help people." I wrote the piece in one sitting, fingers flying over the keyboard as months of suppressed emotion poured out. I titled it simply, "The Ring That Wasn't Hers." I changed names, locations, identifying details, but the heart of it remained. A story about a granddaughter who'd been promised something precious, a family who gave it away, and the fight to get it back. Not just the object, but dignity, self-worth, the right to be seen and heard. The editor accepted it immediately. "This is powerful," she wrote. "How soon can you do a follow-up?" It published on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, it had been shared over 1,000 times. The comments section filled with similar stories. My brother got the house, even though Dad promised it to me. They gave my mom's jewelry to my sister-in-law because she appreciated nice things more. I'm the family scapegoat too. Thank you for showing me I can fight back. Within a month, I was writing regularly for the site. The small payment wasn't much, but it wasn't about money. It was about connection, about finding others who understood what it was like to be unseen in your own family. The viral post happened in June. I'd written about the moment my mother asked me to help get the ring back, and my response, "Ask your family." Something about that resonated. The piece got picked up by larger sites, shared on social media, discussed in forums about toxic families and boundaries. "You put words to something I've never been able to express," one message read. The line, "Ask your family," made me cry. I've been trying to find those words for years. Thank you for showing me it's okay not to forgive. That last one meant the most. Because I hadn't forgiven them. Not my mother for her betrayal, not Tyler for his complicity, not the extended family for their judgment. And I was okay with that. Forgiveness wasn't required for moving forward. Jenna threw me a birthday party in July, just her, a few teacher friends, and some people I'd met through the blog. We had it at a park, potluck style, everyone bringing something homemade. As I looked around at these people who'd chosen to celebrate with me, I realized I'd built something my biological family never gave me, a chosen family who saw me, valued me, supported me without conditions. Speech, someone called out as Jenna brought out a homemade cake, chocolate with vanilla frosting, decorated with terrible handwriting that said, "To the one who finally stopped apologizing for existing." I stood, feeling oddly emotional. I'm not good at speeches, I started, which got some laughs. But I guess I want to say thank you for being here, for seeing me, for never once asking me to make myself smaller to fit in your lives. Also for not giving your jewelry to random people. Jenna called out, which got bigger laughs. I held up my hand, the ring catching the afternoon sun. This ring caused so much pain, but it also freed me. It showed me who really mattered, who would stand by me, who would fight for me or with me. And surprisingly, most of those people weren't related to me at all. "To chosen family," someone shouted, raising their drink. "To chosen family," we all echoed. In August, Almost a year after Grandma's death, I visited her grave again. This time, I brought peonies, her favorites, and a printed copy of my first blog post. "Made some waves with this one, Grandma," I said, placing the paper under a rock near her headstone. "Think you would have gotten a kick out of it?" I sat for a while, wearing the ring, feeling the weight of it on my hand. It wasn't heavy anymore, not like it had been when I first got it back. Now it was just part of me. "I kept my promise," I whispered. "I fought for it. I didn't let them make me small." The wind rustled through the cemetery, and a bird landed on Grandma's headstone, a little sparrow, tilting its head at me curiously. "Little bird," I said softly, remembering her nickname for me. The sparrow chirped once, then flew away. Mom sent one last attempt at reconciliation in September, a long email about how time heals all wounds and family is forever, and we all made mistakes. She mentioned that Tyler was seeing someone new, someone more grounded, and that the family was moving forward. I wrote back a single line: "I wish you all the best in your future endeavors."
Corporate speak. Distant.
Final. She didn't write again. The blog evolved into something bigger. A book deal materialized, small publisher, nothing fancy but mine. Reclaiming Your Story, When Family Becomes Toxic, would come out the following spring. I dedicated it to Grandma Dorothy, who taught me that love should never require you to shrink. At the book launch, held at a local bookstore, I looked out at the small crowd. Jenna in the front row, my teacher friends scattered throughout, some blog readers who'd become real friends, my editor, my new chosen family. Not a single blood relative in sight. And that was okay. More than okay, it was right. Someone asked during the Q&A, "Do you regret how things ended with your family?" I thought about it, turning the ring on my finger, a habit I developed. I regret that they couldn't see me for who I was. I regret that it took losing something precious to realize I'd been losing myself for years trying to fit into their idea of family. But regret the ending?
No.
Sometimes endings are actually beginnings. What would you say to them if they were here? I smiled. They're not here. That's the point. They never really were. After the launch, I went home to my apartment, my space, my choices, my life. The ring caught the light from my reading lamp as I settled in with a book and a cup of tea. Tomorrow, I teach my third graders about standing up for themselves, about using their voices, about knowing their worth. I'd wear the ring, and maybe one of them would ask about it, and I'd tell them it was a gift from someone who loved me exactly as I was. My phone buzzed, Jenna sending pictures from the launch, friends congratulating me, readers sharing their own stories. Not a single message from the Harrisons. I looked at the ring one more time, then picked up my journal to write. They called her family. But you always knew the difference, didn't you, Grandma? Family shows up. Family fights for you, not with you. Family sees you in the center of the frame, not lurking at the edges. Family doesn't require you to shrink to fit their comfort. And now, so do I. The ring glinted as I wrote, a small beacon of hard-won truth. I'd fought for it, kept it, made it mine. But more importantly, I'd fought for myself, kept myself, made my life mine. Legacy isn't inherited. It's built. And I was just getting started. Have you ever had to choose between keeping your family and keeping your self-respect? And did you make the right choice? If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself, even when it costs everything.